We're live. Let me just make sure. Okay, great. Yeah, we are live. Yeah, okay. Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to Conversations and Cocktails with Booktrib.com. And my name is Maria Consis, and I am a social media coordinator for Booktrib, which is the leading source for book news and reviews. And we're here today with the amazing author, Mary Keliikoa. Mary, please wave to everyone.
Hello, aloha.
Aloha. Yes.
From Washington.
So a little bit, yes, from Washington. A little bit about Mary. She was born in Portland, Oregon, and is living in Washington now. And your husband is Hawaiian, so you both spend a lot of time on the Big Island, I'm assuming.
We do. Yes.
Nice. That's on my bucket list to go to Hawaii. So today we're chatting about her debut novel, Derailed, which has received tremendous praise, especially since your book has been out for a little less than a month. And a few reviews from Amazon include winning series and debut launch. Keliikoa offers believable characters, valid motives, and a shifting cast of suspects, and an appealing protagonist who balances her life as a divorced mother of an 8-year-old daughter with her increasingly chaotic career. This is definitely a series to watch or read. So that's a great review. And if you guys want to check out more, go on to Amazon and read. And just before we get started, all the viewers can enter a Booktrib giveaway to receive Derailed. In order to do that, you can like, comment on the Facebook comments, and share. So an easy way to do that is, since this is Cocktails and Conversations, Mary, what are you drinking?
Well, it's not quite 5 o'clock here. So I put a little ginger beer inside a margarita glass.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a watermelon White Claw slushie.
Yeah.
So, and I have water too.
Yes. Yeah, me too.
So,
Waters too.
Perfect. And then any viewers, please comment what you are drinking. Ooh, white wine, Valerie Taylor, great choice, great choice.
Yes.
Yeah, glad to see everyone with cocktails. We're going to be talking Derailed today, mystery fiction, Mary Keliikoa. So let's get started. So what inspired you to write your first mystery, Mary?
Well, I loved mystery, and I'd been reading mystery in my early 20s, Mary Higgins Clark, J. Jance, Janet Ivanovich, all my favorites, right? And I had been working in the legal field. So I'd been surrounded by law, and I was reading mystery. I actually had a friend who shared a desk cubicle with me, and she actually had the idea to write a mystery. And, we used to spend our lunch hours together, and we penned one together actually over the course of a year during our lunch hours. That book didn't go anywhere, but I had the bug at that point, and on I went. So I wrote 2 additional novels, and then Derailed, which is the one that's out now.
Yeah, and I must say that your writing is a gift, and it's meant for people to read. So I'm glad that it's published and the world can read it now. And your wonderful work. Yes, of course. And then you have a website, marykeliikoa.com. And I noticed if anyone signs up for Mary's newsletter, you get a short story, Sabotage. And is that something that you worked on during your time at the law firm?
It actually was. So I was the young girl at a law office, and there was a lot of older secretaries there, and one of them didn't like me very much. So the story is actually kind of around that situation. They say don't get mad, get even. And I don't feel like I did that, but I definitely went on to write a short story that sold to Woman's World. So it worked out okay. But she really did mess it with my desk and do these different things that I write in the story. She sabotaged me. And so it was kind of funny, but yeah, I went on to sell it. So
yeah, there's a saying, don't mess with a writer because they will get back to you with their writing.
That's right. And sometimes, a lot of times it's just channeling that frustration right into the story. So
right. So at the same time, I'm looking through any oh wait, let me check. there seems to be something going on with the Zoom. Okay, so I'm making sure to see if everyone can see you, just checking. Good. Okay, great. So to continue forward. So considering the fact that we're going through a pandemic, how does it feel? Like, how are you with releasing Derailed during the quarantine?
It's been different, it's not quite how I envisioned any of it. But what's been really cool is the writing community has really stepped up to surround each other and bolster each other, which writers do that anyway. I mean, authors are really some of the nicest people I know, and the writers are, writers, authors, they all want to support each other up. And so we've all kind of been doing that, boosting each other's posts or having people on our forums or whatever to really boost. So it's been weird, but really kind of cool in a lot of ways. So
right. Yeah, I think a community has been built around authors and debut authors during quarantine, which is really special. And
yeah.
I think only you guys can really relate to each other, which is needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So any viewers who just came in, so if you guys want to enter a giveaway, make sure for a Booktrib giveaway, make sure to comment, like, and share. Okay, so you spent 18 years in the legal profession and then went on to create a couple of businesses in the pet industry. So did you get inspiration for your characters from the people that you interacted with?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of our skill sets as a writer. We're always observing and we're collecting data, whether you know it or not. We're like taking notes. And definitely I've met some different characters over time, working in the legal field. It was, lawyers and meeting judges and private investigators. And then during my retail years, customers and vendors. So I've definitely compiled quite a list and been keeping notes.
Nice. Is there any characters specifically that reminded you of certain people that you've met?
I think that the safe answer is to say, nobody's designed after anyone in particular. But I would say pieces of several people go into each character. I actually have a high school friend who I based a little bit of Kelly Pruett on, just because she was really tenacious and resourceful, and those were traits that I needed in a really strong PI. But overall, they're all kind of compilations of different people.
Gotcha. So what time do you do your best writing?
I am a morning person all the way. So I have a golden retriever that makes sure I'm up at 5:30. And so whether I want to sleep in or not, it's really not up for a debate. And so I get into my office usually around 7:30 every day, and I work for a couple of hours. I think years of working in the legal environment and having to show up at work at 8 o'clock just kind of served my brain, just kicks into work at that time. So
and I think you did a good job with using like PI and legal vernacular throughout your book. So I'm assuming that's from working in the legal field.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. And once you wake up at 5:30 because of your dog, do you drink coffee like Kelly Pruett does?
Yes, she does take after me, or I take after her. We're quite the coffee addicts. Plus, I live in the Pacific Northwest, and then in Hawaii, Kona coffee is like some of the best in the world. So,
and Starbucks is
Pete's, Dutch. Nice. Yeah, there's just a ton.
So, growing up, what kind of books did you like to read?
I actually was, as a kid, I loved more fantasy novels like The Hobbit and J.R.R. Tolkien. I loved Jean Auel, Clan of the Cave Bear. So I was really drawn into that. It really wasn't until I was in the legal field more into my 20s that I really gravitated more into the mystery world.
Right. And I think the mystery world is huge. And Kelly Pruett's new to the PI genre. Who doesn't love a great kick-ass PI like Kelly Pruett?
That's right.
So to continue that, why did you choose a female sleuth? Was it due to the fact that books featuring women sleuths are the biggest mystery subgenre today?
That really did not factor in. And I think if you're a writer out there, you never really want to write to the market. because by the time you actually get published, the market could have done a 180 on you. It won't be anything what you thought, right? So I really wrote what I loved. I mean, I love Kinsey, Millhone, Sue Grafton, PI. And so for me, it was a natural. If I was going to do a PI, it was going to be a female kick-ass woman that was going to get in and, you know, take names and do all that, you know?
Yeah.
So I wrote what I loved. And I think, and I always encourage people to do that. Don't write to market, write what you love, because you're going to be with that character for a long time, especially if you're editing and going to be published. You might as well really love who they are. So
I say cheers to that, write what you love.
That's right.
Everyone cheers. Okay.
Cheers.
Okay, amazing. So I see when I was reading the book, I noticed how Kelly is an inspiration to girls. And today, girls are recreating society's gender roles to be more independent and self-sufficient and to not feel guilty for choosing their career. And Kelly was strong at choosing who she allowed into her life more than others. And for all the viewers, I'm going to read a piece of Derailed that I noticed this was a big moment for Kelly. So, where is it? Kyle Yeager was in my house. He cared about me, didn't mind my profession, and he'd become good at picking up my pieces. If I had to let Jeff bring me home, he would have harped on me to quit for the rest of the night. Not that I would blame him. That's what people who cared about you did. They wanted to keep you safe, make sure you come home at night. Though Kyle hadn't said as much, I sensed he cared that I come home, and he hadn't asked me to stop being who I was. He hadn't asked anything of me. So this is a big thing because there was two love interests. Jeff was her ex-husband who shows his care differently from Kyle. So what was your decision in creating those two characters?
Well, I really wanted to represent Kelly in two places because who she was pre this decision to help this client and who she becomes are very different. And I think, you know, like all women or all humans, really, we have two parts of ourselves, right? Our younger self and then our more mature, wise person that comes in. And I really wanted to showcase that, that, you know, who she was, she can't leave it all behind either. I mean, she loved Jeff. She has a daughter with Jeff, but that's just not who she is anymore. And he couldn't grow with her. And so, because he had his own limitations, right? You either can grow with people or you can't. And so Kyle comes into the picture and he's, you know, of course they don't have the history and she's now getting to be an entirely different person with him. And she's created those limitations. So I think it was a really good way of showcasing who she was and who she becomes throughout the book.
Right. I think that's inspiring to young girls to, as you grow up and prioritize different people and what you want to do and who you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, for her, she doesn't want to be something just because it keeps her safe in a relationship. And that's, you know, a hard decision for a lot of women, not just Kelly Pruett. I mean, we're all faced with that on some levels, right? Is that there's crossroads, you know, being who we were or being what we want to become. So, and then you want to have the people in your life that support that. And I think that's what Kelly's been working to do. So.
Yeah, I noticed that she's kind of picking who to keep arm's length and who to get closer with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a challenge. Yeah.
So she'll do that throughout the series.
Yeah. I noticed that like the character development was constantly evolving.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Oh, everyone is saying their cheers. They must have their drinks too. Love to see it, guys. Okay. So your character, Kelly, inherited her father's private investigation business and she's learning as she's going. What are the important things she's learning along the way?
Well, I think she's learning to read people, not only the nuts and bolts of an investigation, which she never really got full training. Her dad dies before she's able to really be trained to do the investigative skills set that he was really good at. So, you know, she's definitely learning how to read her own gut, how to read people, and how to ask the right questions.
Right. Yeah. And I think would you say she's developing those skills as she continues in her case?
Right. Yeah, she'll run into somebody that won't give her what she needs. And then she'll find out they weren't quite being truthful. And so she's going to learn, sometimes to dig a little deeper, sometimes to ask different questions. And if she feels like something's not right, to not question that, to go back and find out.
Yeah, she definitely did that. I noticed how she would spend, like, she'd be up at 2 a.m. with her coffee, which I thought was funny. It doesn't stop till the job is done.
That's right.
Do you think it's important to trust your instincts? And did you go with your gut when writing Derailed?
Oh, absolutely. It's always good to go with your gut, for sure, to take a barometer reading anyway, to see which direction you're going. And I absolutely did. I think, the safe thing for Derailed would have been to write about a female PI with no daughter, because, when you add motherhood into it, you open it up to a whole level of what people believe a mom should or shouldn't be doing. But I felt really strong. I mean, when Kelly came to me, she came fully formed. I knew who her family was. I knew that she had a daughter. I knew right down to, Floyd, her basset hound, who she was. So I really didn't have a choice to yank somebody out of her fold. That's just who she was. And she was a mom. And, but I followed my gut. I said, she's going to stay a mom, and this is the way I see her. And I just kept on moving through that. So.
So her neighbor is her ex's mother-in-law. Was that also a challenge you wanted her to experience?
Oh, absolutely. Her ex-mother-in-law, Arlene, next door. Yeah. She definitely is an obstacle to overcome, as is her ex. And I think, we all have those people in our lives, right? Those obstacles. Sometimes they're just kind of that, the devil on the other side of your shoulder telling you one thing, got the other person on the other side of your shoulder.
For sure.
So yeah, she definitely needed to overcome. So.
Nice. Okay. So how does what she learned help her solve the crime?
Well, I think she's starting to unravel the pieces. And as she learns each step and moves forward, of course, and gets those questions answered, she's able to solve the crime. And, what she learns is everybody's keeping secrets. And so,
right.
And everybody has something that they're hiding, and that's just the nature of being human in some ways. But it also really requires her to know the difference between what's truth and what's not, and what those secrets are.
And I think you did a good job at showing a lot of layers with not just Kelly, but even like second layered characters, the antagonist, really well.
Oh, yeah.
And you have a question from the top fan, Anne Marie. She says, I enjoyed Derailed because Kelly was such a multi-dimensional character. Will there be more Kelly Pruett mysteries?
Well, yay, I'm glad you liked her. And yes, of course, there will be. So book 2 is coming out next year, and then I'm already working on book 3. So there will be more.
Amazing. We need more Kelly Pruett.
We do.
Okay, so is the crime itself something that had happened in the news?
It was not anything that I'd heard about, but I used to work in downtown Portland, and I used to ride the mass transit. So it was inspired out of my imagination, but I'm sure it's happened in other places. There's such a small fraction of air between that sidewalk and those tracks that you could easily fall or, trip or be pushed if, in the right situation, right? So even though it wasn't inspired by a true event, I have no doubt that it could happen. And it's what inspired the story. Is just like always wondering, everybody's just a step away from not going home that night. It's really interesting to watch it all in downtown.
Right. And is the bar, like the Limbo, does that actually exist?
It does not.
Oh, okay. I was wondering.
Creative license.
What the streets that you. Amazing,
the streets do exist. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because you are a Portland native. So
I am.
Is the victim's secret life a common lifestyle in Portland subculture?
Well, I don't really want to talk a lot about that because I don't want to give too much away for anyone who's not read the book. I will say that it was a little shocking at the statistics a little more so, but I don't want to tell you more. There, you're. I baited you to come
Right.
in.
Any viewers who read it, do not comment. That is a spoiler, but I'm sure we're all very curious if that is a common lifestyle. Yeah, big plot twist. So talk about your decision in creating a victim whose life was not known by those who were closest to her. Her mom saw her as an angel, but Kelly discovers that the victim's deep, dark secrets to get to the bottom of the crime. So what was that decision?
Well, I think it was just a way of creating, that we all have multi-facets to ourselves, right? We are angels to many people in our lives, but we also have dark sides to us as well. And I really wanted to explore that. And I wanted that secret to be a little bit darker than the average bear sort of thing, because I think it just shows how different and how many secrets we often keep. We all keep secrets, just some are just darker. We hold shame around them, or we feel like somebody wouldn't be proud of us about them, so we keep them hidden. And sometimes this can cause us some problems, for sure. So that's what I wanted. I wanted to give my characters multi-levels and problems, lots of problems.
Yeah, it's interesting that who Kelly came across, she met for the crime and the investigation, there seemed to be some big surprise about the victim. So that was a really cool part of the novel.
Yeah.
So for more of a general sense, what do you think this says about how we see victims? Does their death completely discredit who they are?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, to me, and more importantly, to Kelly's perspective, everyone's equal, and that the crime is at the responsibility of the perpetrator always. And I think that was, Kelly's point. I mean, in some ways, I think Kelly wanted to find justice even more because of what she finds out, that she wanted to make sure that Brooke did get that justice, and not be judged for who she was.
Because even you learn more about Brooke more after the crime was solved too. There's a lot of unexpected turns for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So then Kelly's ex-husband, Jeff, is overprotective of her and her daughter and seems very old-fashioned in many ways. How has Kelly's life changed since her divorce from him?
Well, definitely. She's become more into her own. So when she knew Jeff, she's known Jeff since she was 5 years old, and they were neighbors and they grew up together. And so, who you are at that time obviously is much, much different. But, she also lost her mom when she was 14. She was a daddy's girl. She was growing up inside the agency, the PI agency. And so she's always been surrounded, right? And protected in a lot of ways. Jeff always was protecting her. Her dad was protecting her. You'll find out more about that in the book. And now all of a sudden, her dad has died and her marriage is over. And she's standing there pretty much on her own. So she has a real opportunity to find out who Kelly Pruett is. And that's not something she'd really taken a lot of time. She was taking care of her dad after her mom's death. And so, and then she was being a wife and getting mitts ready for life, with her stuff. So this is kind of a moment of, what do I do? Here I am, and I'm on my own. So she's definitely going to grow.
And I think it's a great lesson for people of any age that you could kind of find yourself, at any age, because she's in her 30s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Which is young, right? I mean, she's going to reinvent herself and become something that she really wants. And I don't think she really had an opportunity to think about that before. Her dad was taking care of things, but now that he's not, here's an opportunity to really step into what she wants to do.
Right. And I think that the people that she's meeting seems to be helping her kind of craft who she is as a PI person.
Oh, absolutely. Well, she's definitely going to find out she's made for it, right? Because I think there's two types of people. And she's way braver than me. I have run the opposite direction on a few occasions. So I love writing about somebody who's
How are you alike with her?
How am I alike with her? Is that what you said?
Right, yeah.
Well, I think we're both tenacious. We don't give up easily. I would say I'm very much in that way, but and we like our coffee and Italian food, of course. But other than that, I really and I think too that we both we're not very judgmental about people and how they go about their life, and I think Kelly's pretty much, she just wants to keep getting the case solved, but she's pretty open-minded about everything. And I think that makes her a good PI, because I think if you close your brain off, right, then you're not going to see the whole picture.
Yeah, I wouldn't say she's judgmental, especially considering like all these secrets that she's finding out. She keeps she's very level-headed.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, I'd say I'm a little bit like that too. But as far as everything else, no, she's far braver.
That's funny. Yeah, she's very brave, definitely. Is there any other character quirks that Kelly has? Like she eats peanut butter from a spoon that are similar to your quirks?
No, well, I used to do that as I was younger. I don't do that so much. So that's clear. That's definitely her thing. And she likes white wine spritzers, and that's not really my thing either. I like foo-foo drinks, like daiquiris and that type of thing.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we're not really the same. She definitely is her own person in that area.
Right. Yes. I noticed that she saw peanut butter at someone else's apartment and she was investigating, and I thought that was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of her go-to. It's like a pacifier thing for her.
That's hilarious. So Kelly links connections to the case throughout the entire novel, like even like the last few chapters. How did you organize these plot points when you were writing?
So I wish I could tell you that I'm really organized, but I am not. I am a pantser, what they call a pantser, which means I basically know the beginning and I know the end. And I follow the case kind of like Kelly does as I continue to write it. And it really becomes about, she finds this clue and then what would be the logical thing that she goes and does next. And that's how I organize it. Sometimes I go back after writing and then I go back and I add the red herrings, or I decide at that point what I think I want to strengthen and what direction I want to send the reader. So it's a little bit after the fact sometimes, but.
Okay. So have you ever like worked backwards with other characters too?
Well, definitely you work backwards from the crime for sure. Like I know how the murder occurs and I know how the end scene works, right? And the reveal. So I sometimes work back from that. And then just to lay out and understand the motivations. Once I have the motivation of the characters and why they did it, then I can set out to create the illusions of different things happening, the secrets that I want revealed and when.
Yeah, I can see that. And even I thought the last line of the book was really strong, and it was a great transition to the next novel. Was that did you think of that in the beginning of your writing process?
I didn't. No, it's funny, you read when you're getting published, of course, you read your book over and over and over again. You read it so many times. And so it wasn't until the very last edit pass that I added that very last line. It just seemed like it needed to be there as the hook into the second book. And sometimes you don't know that until you're right at the end and doing the final pass.
Right. Yeah, and it was definitely interesting. I wasn't expecting that. So it was good. So who was the easiest character to write and who was the hardest?
I would say Arlene was probably the easiest, the ex-mother-in-law. I think probably because there's always an Arlene in our lives that questions the things that we're doing. Not to say that was autobiographical or anything,
Right. Yeah,
my mother-in-law has been wonderful. That's all I can say. But
shout out.
That's right. Shout out to mother-in-laws everywhere. But I think there's definitely those people that question our things that we're doing, our motivations. They have different plans for us. They have ideas of what we should and shouldn't be doing. So she was really easy to write as far as that goes. The hardest one really was Kelly in a lot of ways. Even though she came in fully formed, her personality didn't get more and more developed until we continued through the editing and really fine tuning who she was. So that took more time for sure.
I'm sure Kelly is gonna keep developing in the next novel.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The next novel, she's dealing a little bit more with her dad issues in that. So, that could be a lifelong thing for Kelly Pruett, I think, on some levels. But yeah.
Right, for sure. Let me look at the questions we have on Facebook. What will the next novel be about? Hello, Cynthia.
Well, the next novel is Denied, and it's actually a former classmate has come to help Kelly, or has come to ask Kelly to help her find her missing father. And the classmate is pregnant and can't go out on a search on her own, so she has Kelly help her. And so that's the gist of it. So it's definitely a search for his dad. That's why there are a lot of dad issues coming up for Kelly, I think.
What was the last thing you said? I didn't catch that.
I said that's why there will be so many dad issues coming up for Kelly, because she'll be looking for a dad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, a comment from Barbara. Fascinating how you structure the story to write.
Yeah. It's kind of a winging it.
Yeah. Okay. So to continue, Kelly's new love interest is Kyle, a very cute cop. Will we be seeing more of him in the series?
Oh, definitely. Yes. I hope nobody's expecting a wedding anytime soon.
I might have that way.
That would just be too easy. That would be too easy for Kelly. She's got a lot of issues to overcome with trust, but I think Kyle gives her a reason to want to try to work on those, and I think that will be his role a little bit into that. Actually, I'm writing book 3 now, and they're going to cross paths a little bit on the investigative trail too, because he is a cop, right? So, so he's going to be a fun character to keep developing as we go. So,
yeah, I think it was a good job of being a little flirty, but also he was helpful in the case. That was his main priority, not like, could be a boyfriend.
Right. Yeah, he will definitely be developing, but it won't ever be easy for them. At least not in the near term.
Gotcha. And then, another question here from Booktrib. How did you choose Kelly's name?
Again, it was actually it came to me, Kelly Pruett. I didn't really choose it. It chose me. So, I had decided to write a PI novel. And when I wrote down PI, Kelly Pruett was the next 2 words out of on the paper. So, yeah, it's funny. I wish there was like some, magical, that this is what it is. But sometimes it just pops into your head and you just know it. So.
Was that the case with all the characters' names?
Well, Kyle actually had a different name at one point, and Arlene had a different name at one point. So those 2 were actually changed. I had, so I wrote this book in 1999. So names were a little different then too. So his name was actually Stu originally. And I had a friend of mine who was actually my mentor. She said, Stu's a little old fashioned. You should make him a little bit more 2016. I'm like, okay, Kyle, then we'll go with Kyle.
Kyle's a good one.
It fit him. The minute I said it, I was like, oh yeah, he was always a Kyle. Where'd I get Stu? So.
Yeah, and I always picture Kyle to have blonde hair for some reason.
Yes, he's kind of a surfer guy. That's the look, right? He's that tall and, surfboard underneath the arm, kind of.
Right. If you could dream cast Kyle for a Derailed movie, who would it be?
Well, Chris Hemsworth probably.
Chris Hemsworth. Great choice.
I'm kind of a fan of that. Yes, but yeah, we'll go with that. I'm blushing, right?
What about Kelly? If you could dream cast. I am too a little bit.
Yeah. Let's see. Kelly Pruett. Holly Combs is actually probably from Charmed, the original Charmed. I actually see Kelly Pruett a little bit like her, physically. So, yeah. I know we did one recently for Reese Witherspoon too, and I could totally see Reese as her too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like from Legally Blonde, like she was a lawyer.
Yeah, absolutely. she's very spitfire, and I think Kelly's definitely a spitfire. So
yeah. And then, oh, another interesting, funny comment. Are all your books gonna start with a D?
they are. They are. So it's Derailed, Denied. Book 3 is Deceived. And that's what I have under contract. And then I have an idea for Destroyed as a book 4.
Ooh, so. Nice. Yeah. And then, so moving along, Kelly's daughter, Mitz, is deaf. So why did you choose to put this element into the story?
There were a couple of reasons. One of them is that I have just always had an interest in the deaf culture and the sign language culture. I mean, I've been able to sign the alphabet since I was 7. So it was like, I've just always had an interest, and I love communication and explore that in lots of different ways. I mean, I have like a Spanish book sitting next to me at all times. I just love language and communication stuff. The other part is that my critique partner actually worked for the School for the Deaf. So I had an expert sitting next to me as well. And, she was always talking about the kids, and I loved hearing the stories. So I really wanted to put a character, put that characterization in and put, Mitz with that. For Kelly, it really serves as a motivation to really show her daughter that you don't have to be limited by anything. And I think that is the other point of having it in the book, but also just to normalize it, right? It doesn't define her. It's just something that's part of her. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you captured that really well. And just another kind of sneak peek for the readers. This is like a scene with Mitz and Kelly. She smiled, giving me the sign for I love you, a lot like a hang 10, but with the index finger standing up along with the thumb and pinky. I think you did a great job with showing and not telling, which is like a writer tip number 1.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, and how will Kelly evolve in the rest of the series?
I think she's going to just continue to come more into her own. She's going to rely more on her gut. Of course, she's going to become more confident in that. And, I think she's just going to continue on really believing who she is. And I think that'll be, and also that she doesn't have to be a lone wolf. She is a lone wolf type of thing. And that is her dad, right? You find out more about her dad, that was his MO. And I think that'll be a big thing for her, that maybe she doesn't have to do it exactly the way her dad did it. And she's not there yet. She's too much trying to get out from underneath his shadow, too much trying to be him at the moment. But she's going to come to another side of that at some point throughout the series.
So would you say she's kind of torn with being her dad, like, and also being herself as a PI?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he was the best in her eyes. He was the best, and he's the pinnacle to be lived up to, and that's great, but he was different. They aren't the same people. And I think at some point you have to know who you are and your strengths and what your life is. And she's going to start coming to that realization at some point. So, yeah.
Great, amazing. And so this wraps up our questions. If anyone wants again to enter into the giveaway, make sure to comment, like, and share this Facebook Live, and check out Derailed, amazing book. If you go to marykeliikoa.com, it's an easy way to find a link to purchase her book on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. Anything else you'd like to add, Mary?
No, this has just been really fun. And I think, if you like strong PIs, I think you'd really enjoy the book if you haven't read it yet. And I just love feedback. So, if you have, if you ever want to drop me a note, you can contact me through my website, and I'm always love to answer questions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you can find Mary on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I did want to add, if I can add this, I am part of a group of 2020 debuts, and they're a fabulous group of people that are, debuting this year. And of course, with COVID-19, things are so weird, right? So if you want to find like where all the fun books are coming out for the year, and whether they're mystery or romance or women's fiction or fantasy, whatever, 2020debuts.com is the place to go, and everybody's books and profiles are out, and it's really fun. And I say support everybody this year because it's just been a really odd year, and support your local bookshops.
Right. Cheers to that.
That's right. Cheers to local bookshops.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you so much, Mary. You are an amazing author, and I can't wait to see what is in store for you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciated being here. Take care, guys.
Of course. Bye. Aloha.
Aloha.